Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about someone who's really daft and a bit of a pina in my shiny metal butt. It's the first 30 seconds I can't swear. That's right, it's DaftPina. I'm pretty sure if you're subscribed to me or have been following this situation with him, you don't need an introduction. But of course, there's gonna be those of you who's clicked on this video for some random reason, or are watching it in the future. So I'll give a quick little recap. DaftPina is primarily known for being an art and animation critic, mostly focusing on storytime animators. Very early on, he got into controversy when he made a video about Jaden's face reveal, saying that she was faking her bulimia and being depressed and other things like that. It has some of the worst arguments I've ever heard from a YouTuber in my entire life, but I already went over it in my first video about DaftPina, so if you want more information, go check that out. There are a few other small things he did, like telling Chili Panda she should quit animation and art altogether, but he was still a teenager at the time, and his half-ass apologies did seem to satisfy people. For the next few years, he was pumping out some amazing content and starting some of the biggest bandwagons in the commentary community. But one of those big bandwagons he started was against Antunes, and he was the first guy to fight back against Daft. Okay, yeah, there was also Fox Goodman and Matt Spicer, but he did such a terrible job that he made things worse for himself. Now, Antunes may not be a perfect little angel, and he has done some things that I do disagree with. But when like 90% of the claims against him are false, some of which include drawing CP and pedo allegations, yeah, I'm gonna defend the guy. I already went over what Daft did to him in my second video on the guy, and I did a full video about the Antunes drama, which barely any people have seen, and you guys should definitely check it out. But the drama between him and Antunes did very little damage to Daft. Mostly because their audiences were, well, so different from one another. And to be perfectly honest, Daft did one of the better videos on Antunes. Granted, that's not saying a whole lot, but he still did one of the better ones. Now, accusing someone who makes edgy comics and edgy jokes of being a racist is one thing, but accusing someone like the Odd Ones Out of being racist is a whole other ballpark. I think I might have made a mistake in one of my older videos saying that he went after Antunes after he went after the Odd Ones Out, so forget that I ever said that. Daft's video on the Odd Ones Out caused him to get backlash, which is something he hasn't received in a very long time. But the backlash was pretty mild. He only got covered by a few small channels, and the likes to dislikes under his video was mostly positive. I was planning to cover the video myself when it came out, but I was dealing with the Toby/Luke/Creepshow/Peaches drama at the time, so I just put it on the back burner. But later on, Daft would get into controversy that would cause actual sizable creators to call him out. But only on Twitter. Aside from Harley, no one else made a video. And that was the Tina Fey situation. Tina Fey is a Twitter artist who makes some pretty fucking hot art. My personal favorite is the Elden Ring one. Basically, the major crime of Tina Fey 1 was catfishing a minor 2 years younger than them. But whenever Daft tells the story, he just says they were catfishing a minor, leaving out the fact that they were only 2 years younger. Now, when I say Tina Fey 1 was catfishing this person, I mean they were pretending to be an Asian girl when they were actually a Latino guy. Originally, I did go over this on my second video on Daft, but I edited it out because, well, it was later pointed out to me that I went way too soft on Tina Fey for catfishing someone. I was mostly focused on the 2-year age gap thing, but the catfishing, yeah, that's inherently predatory. And because I couldn't edit out that part in a proper way without ruining the structure of my video, I just decided to edit out the entire Tina Fey section. That's why it used to be over 30 minutes long, to now just over 20 minutes long. But we'll get into why I did that more later on. In response to Tina Fey doing this, DaftPina doxed them, allowing people to easily find their Facebook. Now granted, Tina Fey was an idiot for still leaving this Facebook account up. According to one of Daft's defenders that we'll get into more later on, he found the Facebook by going into Tina Fey's Discord, found out about them talking about one of their old YouTube accounts, and through that they found their Facebook. This information wasn't known to the public at the time, and assuming it's true, which I really have to question because it comes from Daft, this is still doxing, in my opinion. Sure, Tina Fey left the breadcrumbs, but Daft publicized it to his massive audience. Daft will desperately try to defend himself by saying, well, you are talking about this, so you're also doxing them by proxy. You're showing the tweet that allowed people to find his private Facebook. He talked about this in both his Tina Fey video and his video responding to all the allegations against him, but he ignores the fact that people asked him to take this tweet down and he refused to. And once someone's dox is out there, it's kind of out there. The first person to do it is the worst. And this also doesn't make him look better in any way. Oh yeah, and he also tried to call out Tina Fey for saying the soft A N-word like years ago in a non-offensive way. Bro, Turkey Tom is in your most popular video. That guy has said way worse shit, and he's white, not Latino. Don't get me wrong, I love Turkey Tom, but this makes Daft look really hypocritical. Shortly after his Tina Fey debacle, this word, he made a video on our theory on art. Well, he does an alright job pointing out the transphobia, the fact that he refused to interview him, the fact that he's black and bisexual, makes most of Daft's video on our theory on completely pointless. Oh no, a black bisexual man said the N-word and F-slur. And yeah, I think a bisexual guy can say the F-slur in the same way a half-black guy can say the N-word. This was when small YouTubers like Advil and a sizable YouTuber like me finally started calling Daft out. He lost around 3k subs, I think, but it wouldn't be until roughly a year after my first 2 videos on Daft came out that his downfall would finally happen. A few months later, I made my third and what I thought would be my final video on DaftPina. I was mostly focusing on what he said about young Dawn, trying to explain to him that attacking a married guy's family isn't the best way to go about things. He obviously didn't take my advice. Only a few days later, Rhythm Rev made the best and most quintessential video on DaftPina. I put a lot of work and effort into my DaftPina videos, but man, this guy's video is next level. He even surpassed my very first video on DaftPina, so it looks like I'll have to relinquish my crown to Rhythm Rev. I was doing a little victory lap. I thought this was finally the end for DaftPina. And this is where that creepy reading enters the picture.
The worst crime you can commit is dick riding without a license.
A guy I knew about longer than anyone else I have mentioned in any of my DaftPina videos. My main inspiration for doing YouTube, much like Ellis Mark and Turkey Tom, was I Hate Everything. And very early on in I Hate Everything's YouTube career, his very first collab ever was with that creepy reading. He even helped me get my very first sponsor with Femora. So you can imagine my shock when he didn't like my DaftPina video and challenged me to a debate in Senate.
Daft, which I talked to yesterday, he hasn't talked to you in like 2 years. And that, and personally, Daft's been like one of my best friends. We've worked together on a lot of projects. I know how his scripting process works. I know how the videos are created. I'm either sometimes there for the beginning, there for the whole thing going on. I got a lot of behind the scenes info, so I have the context. And I also happen to know that if you reached out to Daft, he would have talked to you, but you never did.
Senate is a Discord run by a few people, one of which being Leo Convoy. Now I've been told it's not a drama Discord, as long as I ignore the fact that drama happens in there all the time. Before our debate started, I asked him on Discord if I could have the list of questions he would be asking me. And I didn't get them. Maybe he didn't see my message, maybe he only claimed to have not seen my message, but who knows. And I've made it clear multiple times, I'm not good at live debates. Mainly because I'm always nervous I'm gonna lose control of my emotions and spur the fuck out. I was also under the impression that we would have had a productive conversation, but he went there to win, even laughing maniacally at one point when I left to take a vape break saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna get Jar to take down all of his DaftPina videos by the end of this."
Who the fuck is that?
It's like the video is like full of shit where it's like nothing burgers and like I'm in order to get him to agree to take it down, I gotta tear down the whole video.
I mean,
that's civil. I don't care.
Yeah, it's gonna take quite some time, dude, to get through all of this stuff.
I don't think I should
civil's
have
stupid.
to. I don't think I should have to. I think like just being like, well, this is a major fuck up and this is a major fuck up and hey, don't you realize that you're defending an actual predator in your video tearing down Daft?
To brag a little bit, those 3 videos are still up, but most of the video of Daft's I've covered are now down. He brought up some really good arguments, like things that I already admitted to getting wrong. For example, I brought up that Daft drew a picture of a 14-year-old girl in a very sexy way. I got this information from Advil's video, and while I was not technically wrong on this, I didn't know at the time that Daft was actually 15 when he drew this. Now I want to make it clear, I wasn't trying to say that Daft was a creep for drawing this. Like, she's not a lolly or anything, and let's be real here, no artist looks up the exact age for every character they draw, especially the anime ones. I brought this drawing up because I thought Daft was giving Tina Fey some grief for drawing Sora from Kingdom Hearts as a MILF. Granted, Daft was also not actually doing that, so that's 2 points I got wrong about Daft in a row. Oy vey. But yeah, I'm a robot who's willing to admit when he gets things wrong, and I edited those parts out of the video. But yeah, those two things, along with downplaying what Tina Fey did because I was focusing too much on the age gap, were the only things I got wrong in 3 really long videos about DaftPina. That creepy reading yelled at me trying to say that I was making Daft look like a creep.
Yeah, like I wasn't aware of that at the time, so I cleared up that misinformation. I've already admitted to that in a...
You didn't. What you said in your video is that it certainly weakens your argument. No, it removes the argument. It makes the argument null. Just say fucking sorry. You fucked up really bad. You try to portray Daft as a weirdo.
Even though it's made pretty clear in my video that's not what I was trying to do. He brought up all his best points in the first debate, but because he was yelling and screaming and not letting me get a word in, most people were on my side. And considering how shit I am at live debates, that's saying something. The second debate was a lot more diplomatic, but in the third debate, when that creepy reading realized he wasn't going to get me to edit out anything else in my video, he tried to bring up that he already got a third of my second video taken out.
Whole doxing thing, debatable on who considers that doxing, but I decided that since I didn't have the info about the whole that they also people could have found it in easier ways through their Discord, I decided to remove that part of the video, mainly because I was going to remove another part, but it clashed with the video too much, so I kind of just removed the whole Tina Fey part.
Which was how much, like, of the video itself?
Like, a little less than 30%, but it was the second video, which, to be honest, was the weakest of the 3, and probably currently has the second most views out of all of them, but probably will have the least amount of views in like a month or 2.
Even though I took out a third because the one point I took out would have really messed with the structure of the video.
I also feel like there's a point being missed here, because you've already deleted 30% of your video due to like poor research and
it was because it would clash. You're taking my good faith what I did. Like I didn't even have to do that, but I decided to do it. And like Daft's video on the Odd Ones Out is still up, and that has mountains of false information in it.
Yeah, probably should be deleted. I agree with that. I'll probably talk to him and see if I can get him to delete the video. But that's not who I'm talking about here. I'm talking about your videos, and you do have a responsibility to not include misinformation in your content.
So that's why I had to take out a third of it. It was only one point that went on for like a minute. He also said that Daft's next video at the time would be responding to the allegations about him, but he never made that video. Said he would debunk points I made defending James, but he, never did. He didn't even see my first video on Daft. Brought up just a lot of points he didn't have any evidence for and still doesn't have evidence for to this very day. And I'm also very suspicious when he said that Daft didn't send him and he came to these conclusions on his own, when he also says that him and Daft are good friends and they talk almost every single day. I don't know, it just seems a little fishy to me. So yeah, a lot of my time was wasted and it was pretty stressful for me, but I was ready to move on with my life. I thought this was the end of the DaftPina saga. But then Sony TM, one of the very first people to make a video on Daft, made another video on the guy, somewhat going over the debate between me and Creepy. I thought this was a pretty inconsequential video. Little did I know the massive fire that would all start from this little spark. So now we're gonna get into the reason why you clicked on this video. The Just Stop /EllisMark/DaftPina drama. I've already made a few criticisms towards Just Stop in some of my DaftPina videos. Now I do love Just Stop for many reasons. His content is pretty amazing. He saved my ass from Prismate Luke, and he fought for Hopeless Peaches against Creepshow Art. But every time Just Stop does something bad, whether it's falsely flagging down one of Antoon's videos, or making his dog shit point about color theory, both of those things Just Stop did was because of the influence of DaftPina. He asked him to flag down Antoon's video, and he asked him to make that horrible point about color theory. And despite Rhythm Rev's video, my videos, and tons of other videos on DaftPina, Just Stop decided to still work with the guy, and he made his awful video on Ellis Mark's wife. Well, Just Stop did admit that this video's creation was ultimately his decision to make and his idea in the first place. DaftPina heavily influenced the video, enabling Just Stop to go through with the creation of it. After the video was uploaded, Just Stop was pulled onto a live stream with several other YouTubers who did not like the video, including the man himself, Killer Keemstar. Yeah, the same guy who was in that Seth video I just uploaded. It's really a small world after all. Just Stop did his best to try to deny the amount of influence DaftPina had over the video. Later on, Just Stop did make a follow-up video admitting that Daft had a much greater hand in the video creation than what he said on that live stream. As much as DaftPina likes to pretend that Just Stop threw him under the bus because he's an easy scapegoat, because everybody really hates him, I, along with many others, already knew that Daft had a big hand in the creation of this video, even before Just Stop admitted to it. It felt like a DaftPina video, Just Stop mentioned DaftPina in the video, but for me the biggest giveaway was when Just Stop was talking about Sony TM. That guy is pretty small and irrelevant, but Daft has a big hate boner for the guy, mainly because he was one of the very first people to make a video on Daft. And also wasn't really good for Daft that he recently made a video on the Tina Fey situation, reviving the drama, causing a lot of people to hate him even more than they already did. People such as Ellis Mark's wife, Harley TPS, Definitely Bored Oranges, all made videos talking about DaftPina, and they all blew up. Then DaftPina made his own video responding to everything, and it got ratioed into the ground. That creepy reading then did everything in his power to damage control for Daft. And I think at one point a whole bunch of YouTubers started clowning on Smart Alec for his giant ass 300-page document on DaftPina. So yeah, we have a lot to go over. I'm gonna start off by going over Just Stop's video a little bit, followed by Veronica's video a little bit, going over some of Just Stop's video titled Clearing the Air, and finally a full debunk of Daft's video responding to everything.
Have you ever been put into a situation where you weren't quite sure whether or not you should reveal a piece of information, fearing the consequences, but then it just kept getting worse to the point you couldn't keep your mouth shut any longer? Yeah, that's basically the current situation.
Oh yeah, I've been there before. Although I probably wouldn't ask for assistance from DaftPina. You know, the guy who did a video on Young Dawn. And in that video, he theorized about Young Dawn's marriage when there was no need to and basically no evidence for. I bring this up because this is not the first time Daft has tried to destroy someone's marriage. Sure, Young Dawn may not be a perfect little angel, but Ellis Mark is. I'm not a married man myself, but I think the married people in my audience can agree with me when I say, you do not mess with a man's marriage.
Bluntly, I tried handling what I'm about to discuss with Mark privately, but discovered there have been several others who've done the same, yet he seemingly has
Yeah, it's almost like it's none of their business or something.
who are at fault. And what might those actions include, you may ask? Well, how about a relationship that's been kept secret from the public involving lies, dumping and getting back together in short bursts, cheating, alienation from friends, shit-talking, the loss of opportunities to be friends with others, manipulation, forced dependency.
Sounds like the average relationship with a woman. Am I right, boys? Like, I can understand Just Stop's perspective, but ultimately it's Ellis Mark's choice. Concerned friends have every right to step in, but making a video on this was definitely not the right course to make.
So to keep it all organized in this video, I'm gonna set up a basic timeline of events based on the testimony and evidence of several people I've interviewed or researched into, which, if stated as much, were later confirmed by Mark himself. And it all goes back to Christmas Day of 2021, when DaftPina and Croey, two friends of Mark, wanted to talk to him about Veronica.
Oh boy, oh god, oh no. You invited Daft? Oh no, Ellis Mark. That really should have been your first clue that making this video wasn't the best idea. Yeah, this is one of the main reasons why people knew that Daft was involved in manipulating Just Stop behind the scenes. So I'm gonna be skipping like 10 minutes of this video. I'd rather not go over it because most of it is about Ellis Mark's relationship with his wife, which is probably really embarrassing for the guy now that it's all out in the public. From what I've heard, he was already being made fun of by his friends, calling him a cuck and other things like that. And now a whole bunch bunch of strangers on the internet are all doing the same. So we're gonna skip ahead all the way to 12 minutes and 18 seconds.
Show that she partakes in this behavior, which I can demonstrate. First, looking to DaftPina for a situation, here's a DM conversation where, when confronted about shit-talking Daft behind his back, she admits to it backhandedly, but rather than apologizing, tries to deflect the blame by shifting to discussing another friend of his, Beta's Inferno, who apparently shit-talked him before the two knew each other. Hey, Editing Braxton here again for some more clarity. In the screenshot of Veronica talking to Daft, she mentions they had a politically fueled conversation that was inappropriate and unprofessional, which she most likely said because Daft deleted their Discord messages, so he couldn't back it up if she just said shit, but he actually archived them before doing that, including the conversation, so if you want to look at it, there's a link in the description, but really it's just an average political convo. However, in it, Veronica never says anything he mentioned was bad or out of line, despite having ample opportunity to over their regular chat, so I guess we can add gaslighting to her list.
Okay, Braxton, this really sounds like a line DaftPina wrote for you. I read the screenshot you put up on screen. She said it's inappropriate and unprofessional because she barely knew Daft, and the convo was about Donald J. fucking Trump. That's a very politically fueled conversation, and again, her problem was that she barely knew Daft. As for your whole point about her gaslighting, dude, that's a really big stretch, and it sounds like something Daft would say. She may not have even known that Daft deleted their messages, mainly because she barely talks to him. Also, why would Daft delete his messages with them? And she's also probably going off of things from memory, not rubbing her hands maliciously like, yes, I can lie about this because he deleted the messages. And lastly, she's not deflecting. She said, I don't deny any of it. She also just added on that the other person shit-talked Daft as well. If she said, yeah, I shit-talked you, and didn't bring up that the other person did it as well, and Daft found out about it later, he would be complaining about that instead. God damn, I'm so sick of these doomed if you do, doomed if you don't situations that Daft creates. And also, this whole point just boils down to, boo-hoo, she talked shit about Daft behind his back. Braxton, you've covered Creepshow art before. For the love of God, let's not have another Hopeless Peaches drama.
Confronting Mark himself about all of this in the hopes he might listen, though I wasn't too optimistic he would, knowing what I've explained already and how he's shut people out. But I couldn't just go in half-cocked without a plan, that wouldn't work at all. Plus, I'm admittedly a bit timid when it comes to head-to-head confrontations. I haven't been in commentary for a long-ass time, and I plan to not stay in it after this video is out, so I decided to call on Daft and Croey, who've had previous instances attempting to talk to Mark about these issues, and created a list of questions I wanted to ask, seeing how he responded to check if he would be truthful with us, and as I've mentioned already, in some cases, he was not. But that's where all the times when I say Mark is confirmed come from, because it was affirmed to us in the call, one which I brought Mark into under the guise of helping me with my Hell of a Boss video. This was done for the reason that, in the case where someone's in a potentially abusive relationship, straight up saying, I think you're in an emotionally manipulative relationship with a toxic person, let's talk about it, it's probably going to scare the person off immediately.
Oh my god. Ellis Mark, can you join a call? I need help with my Hell of a Boss video. Oh golly, sure, just stop. Just kidding. We're here to confront you about your marriage.
So I didn't want to take the chance and instead chose to put Mark in a headspace where he'd come in alone and calmly, though that wouldn't be the same for long. We started the call by stating that it wasn't about Hell of a Boss, but instead we were performing a recorded checkup on how he's doing, to which Mark said he was uncomfortable with us doing so, clearly paranoid about the whole aspect, and so we complied, taking detailed notes instead. The call went on for over an hour, and much of it covers what's already been stated though.
Well, can you blame him for being paranoid? You tricked him into the call, and you also brought Daft, who A, hates Ellis Mark's wife, and B, hates his friend Sunny. And also C, he's a compulsive liar. Like, this is something Daft does. He interviews someone before making a video on them. Sometimes even taking them out of context. He still hasn't uploaded the full call between him and Antunes. Oh boy, it's Sody TM, the guy who can get under Daft's skin more than anyone else.
Like, for instance, let's use another friend of Mark's that's heavily associated with Veronica as an example for how to do this kind of thing properly. Sunny TM. Told you I was gonna bring this back up later, but for those who haven't been paying attention, he was another creator I mentioned back at the beginning of this video as someone Croey and Daft were concerned might be negative for Mark to be associated with. Though back then, their concerns only went as far as Sunny leaking Daft's personal script for a project he was working on, but that's barely scratching the surface compared to what I know now.
Oh wow, Sunny leaked one of Daft's scripts? That sounds pretty bad. bad. But there's one issue. The clip he shows, it's blurred out. I went to go check Sunny's original video and it was also blurred out there. I did reach out to Sunny and asked him if he used YouTube Editor to blur it out after uploading the video, and he said no, he didn't. Now granted, Sunny could be lying to me, but I don't want to be really creepy and ask him to show me the YouTube editing history of these videos. It's entirely possible that Sunny leaked it somewhere else, but Just Stop doesn't show that.
And so in the call, we wanted to make it clear to Mark that he'd done some reprehensible things in and out of video, all while clearly associating with and even mentioning Mark by name as a good friend. This includes his most recent video against Daft, where he brings up a situation with another content creator I also interviewed, Doobus as a way of discrediting Daft because he has a plush of Doobus in the back of his set.
No. Just Stop. That's a lie. Perpetuated by you, DaftPina, and that creepy reading. Sony TM is not this crazy guy who went, oh my god, DaftPina has a plush of Doobus in his background. I better go harass that guy. Okay, maybe they didn't lie. It is possible they just misunderstood him, or that was the impression they got from his video. So first of all, here was the point that Sony TM was making in his video.
A company that doesn't find them offensive, I don't see why you should cancel them for just saying it. I stated this last year in regards to the Ethereum situation, and I still stand by this today. That being said, I will be using examples of people that Daft chooses to support that don't adhere to the same morals that he puts up in his videos. People that in any other circumstances would be targets for Daft to make videos on if he didn't either enjoy their content or were already on his side as friends.
So yeah, there's your context. Sony TM said, Daft, you go after people for some very small reasons, but why don't you have a problems with your own friends doing the exact same things? I'm gonna go into further context about this when we come to Daft's video, and even Turkey Tom fell for this bullshit. But I guess Sony TM randomly going after Doobus for this reason is still pretty crazy. So let's play another clip from his video so we get the full context.
Just like with Doobus. If you don't know who he is, Doobus is a YouTuber that makes little animations for toddlers who thinks of himself as some sort of animation messiah of the modern day YouTube. The reason why I bring him up is that Daft displays this plushie in the background of all of his new videos and follows him on Twitter. What Daft probably doesn't know is that Doobus used to be in my own Discord server before his rise to where he is today. While he was in my server, he felt the need to, unprompted mind you, demean trans people and to say that they are all annoying and how he hated them.
So as you can see, Sony TM did all this to Doobus before his rise to fame. So presumably Daft wouldn't have a plush of him yet, and he had this old recording lying around, and I guess he thought to himself, I can get Daft in a gotcha moment. He has a problem with people like Ethereum Art and Antunes, but Doobus did something way more transphobic than them. If he doesn't do anything about this, he'll look like such a hypocrite. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough evidence for this alleged transphobic claim. Now, I want to make this clear. I do not agree with what Sunny did to Doobus. No one has any evidence of how transphobic the transphobic thing Doobus said was. It could have been something that was just taken the wrong way, or it could have been something legitimately transphobic. But even if it was legitimately transphobic, forcing him to apologize will not make the apology legitimate. He did apologize, he donated money, this was years ago, and I'm sure he's changed as a person. Okay, now granted, he did misgender the CWC in his Sonichu video, but most people knew about Christina Chan when they identified as a male, and even some of the most pro-trans people and trans people themselves don't always gender them properly. I think this is a we don't claim him, or I guess in this case her situation. I just don't think it was such a smart idea to bring this up years later just to get a dunk on Daft. But the point is, Sony TM didn't see a random plush in DaftPina's background and think to himself, yeah, I'm gonna go after that person. And while this could be DaftPina manipulating Just Stop into making this point because it does sound like a point from him, I'm not gonna let Just Stop off the hook for this one. Bro, you should have watched Sony TM's video and came to the correct conclusion, not this weird narrative you're trying to spin. And you know what? I'm sick of people going so soft on Just Stop because he's a young 18-year-old child. He's not a child, he's a man. He's old enough to vote, and he's old enough to be drafted. And he has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I'm autistic, and I was homeschooled all my life. When I turned 18 and got into the real world, people were not this easy on me, and I didn't have a channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Stop treating this adult male with such kid gloves. He false flagged down Antunes' video, video, and he still hasn't apologized or taken any responsibility for it. I don't care that much that he was manipulated by Daft. He had plenty of warning from people like me, Rhythm Rev, and several others. But I guess I could thank Just Stop for doing the bare minimum defending me and Hopeless Peaches from Creepshow Art and Prismate Lou.
He was also doing weird shit with another creator, That Creepy Reading, who he sent an unprovoked shirtless picture to saying, "I'm coming for you," and was subsequently blocked for. Though once again, Mark didn't have much of a reaction to the news and treated it like just another thing Sonny does. However, it ended up having a long-lasting impact.
Yeah, that's how I would react too. Dude, your friend sent me a shirtless picture of himself and said I'm coming for you. Yeah, that's something he does sometimes. I mean, there's being a special little snowflake, and then there's this. Can we bring that term back? I'm gonna go into more detail about this when we get to Daft's video, but man, imagine if someone sent you a troll image like this to you, and you start telling people, dude, this guy's so creepy, I can't believe he did this. And then you later confront the friend of this guy as if this is some massive dirt on him, and then you're shocked when he replies, yeah, he does that sometimes.
Probably doesn't think anything is going to happen, or at the least he doesn't realize that I'm the one who set this all up and made the video. I mean, I explicitly told him as much in the call, but I know he didn't believe me because Daft was there, asking him explicitly if he was going to make a video, and in all honesty, I find that a bit insulting. Is it really so hard to believe that this isn't a scheme by Daft, who I just co-opted specifically for that call, but instead a worried gesture from tons of friends that think something is wrong? I know that at the end of the call you told us that you were currently happier than you've ever been, but though it might sound like I'm overstepping boundaries by saying as much, I don't think that's the case.
Ellis Mark, I'm insulted that you didn't think I was as stupid or evil as DaftPina. Bro, it's something that Daft would do, not you, especially now that you're done with making drama videos. The fact that he thought this should have been a pretty big red flag that you shouldn't have made the video. But anyways, that's enough about Braxton's video. Now let's check out Veronica's. Now most of her video isn't even about Daft. Hell, she doesn't get to him until an hour and 30 minutes in. Most of the video is about Ellis Mark, Just Stop, Smokey, and Rice Pirate. Now to be fair, a lot of the stuff she does talk about is hearsay, and I don't know how much of it is true. But it's also her own personal story, so if you want more information, you can go check it out. I'm only here to talk about one person, DaftPina.
DaftPina is a leech who attaches himself to any molecule of drama he can find himself. I know for a fact he's currently going around to people, some of which I used to be good friends with, to get them to speak out about me, claiming I was an abuser.
Whoa, now Veronica, it's not that I don't trust you, but I gotta read these DMs because I do the same with Daft. And I can't be playing favorites right now. Circling back to Redacted, nothing, they made fun of her works. Why do you think they kept her on Mark's project?
Because Mark needs help. He has a small team and is still looking for help, and Jeff was the best animator he had.
So he would shit-talk someone who he needs, and is the best animator he has.
Yes, they acted nice to her and kept her around to work because they had no other option but how mainly Veronica would insert her personal work. Mark wouldn't go out of his way, at least not in front of me, to make fun of her. It was Veronica who called it out first. Mark wouldn't do your laugh alone. He never defended Jeff.
Do you remember any other instance besides the screenshots you had?
Just whenever she uploaded, we'd be in a call, and Veronica would be like, "Hey Mark, look at this. The boobs here are fucking ugly. Oh, this is so bad." And then I'd ask, "Whose art is it?" And she'd say, "Check Jeff's Twitter or link it to me."
That's terrible. Did Veronica give a reason why she hated Redacted?
Nah, she just thought her art wasn't good. She said she could animate well, but lacked in her artwork.
Has Veronica ever expressed this to Redacted? If they have grievances, they should have spoken to her.
I don't think so. The only time I know she reached out to her was to ask her not to share her and Mark's relationship in public, which I've done a few times in live stream chats and Twitter replies. Also, Veronica only made fun of her personal artwork and not stuff related to the pilot, at least not in front of me. So I think she didn't feel the need to reach out.
To be perfectly honest, it doesn't seem like he's trying to get someone to speak out about you, at least in this screenshot. Instead, it looks like he's gathering information on you. Now granted, Just Stop was the one who reached out to Daft, and Daft more so wanted the video to be about Sonny and not you. Still, Daft not liking you probably made it so that he didn't tell Just Stop, "Hey, don't make this video, it's not like an idea." I think he just saw an opportunity, he took it, and he helped Just Stop make the video. But I don't think he was trying to get people to speak out about you for a long time.
Daft is never to be trusted. He's found himself in controversy after controversy and nobody respects him.
There I am, Gary!
That night, Mark would ask Just Stop if he could call, to which Just Stop would say that he's too tired and that he would speak only in text. Rightfully, Mark would point out how wrong it was, that he would rather go on and spend hours on a live stream than talking directly to the person he had made this video about. I bring this up because the Just Stop who was talking to Mark at this point came off very different than the Just Stop we had seen in the live stream, saying that this video shouldn't be deleted because it highlights my abuse, and even tries turning the situation around on Mark, saying that he condones all of this because he wouldn't publicly say anything.
This goes deeper than my video, and if you want to silence that before more speak up. That says more about you than it does me. You care more about your public image than what your friends and wife have done, and that says a lot. So there's a lot of DMs, too much for me to read out for this video, but pause it and read it and just wait, we'll come back to it later.
Mark has been friends with DaftPina since he was 16, and was accustomed to his way of writing, even telling Just Stop to say hi to Daft for him.
Oh, did I tell you to wait and that we'll get to it later? Well, by later I meant literally the next point. Yeah, DaftPina wrote up these DMs for Just Stop to send, and it's clearly done in his writing style, not Just Stop's writing style. Can you just imagine how tightly his asshole clenched up when Ellis Mark said, "Say hi to Daft for me"? But yeah, this is just another example of DaftPina's manipulation. Look how he got Just Stop to word these DMs. It's just so despicable. I'm gonna be perfectly honest here, this is not Ellis Mark being smart, this is DaftPina being stupid and obvious.
DaftPina, who's so good of a friend that he never once reached out to Mark about this, even saying to him that he wasn't working on a video about me, and told Just Stop not to take down the video, which Mark had asked him to. Great friends.
Okay, well, technically Daft did reach out to Mark. Granted, it was done mostly just to probe for information, but he still technically reached out to Mark.
But manipulating his own audience by giving them a one-sided story without contacting me for what I have to say, yet prides himself on informing the public of the truth.
People have said it for a while, and I've tried to shrug it off or even defend him, but I can't deny Daft is a toxic person. It's something I've rejected for a while, but it's true. He really, at least from my perspective, hasn't changed much since the days of the Jaden face reveal. He's just gotten better at hiding it publicly and letting other people fight his battles, like he tried to do with me by including a massive section on Sunny. He wants to pretend he's better than all these people that talk about him, acting like he doesn't care, but he does.
This is a man who will justify needing to give pedophiles and groomers a platform to explain their side. Yet where was my message, Daft? Do you take shit-talking as a worse crime than pedophilia or grooming of minors?
So while Daft did technically reach out to Ellis Mark, he did not reach out to Veronica. Now granted, it was Just Stop's video, so the onus is also on him to reach out. I hope I'm using that word correctly, I've never used it in a sentence before. But I do think there's a reason as to why Daft will reach out to pedos and groomers. It's because no matter what they say, everybody's gonna hate them. So there's no way he can mess up the interview. Granted, he also did an alleged 6-hour-long interview with Antunes that he still didn't upload, but what he did show was fucking worthless. Now, I personally don't believe you have to interview every single person you make a video on, but I got shit from that creepy reading for not interviewing Daft. Now, granted, he was someone I once called a friend, but isn't Veronica the wife of one of his friends? I just think we should stay consistent about things. As for what Just Stop said, well, we'll be getting into that a little bit later on in the video.
I found out that Daft was going to an artist who Mark is paying to work on his pilot, telling them that I was mocking them and their art. This would be corroborated by Strawberry Mage. I know it was you. Daft first talks to them about me mocking their art. The next question going into, why do you think Veronica hates them? You see how things are made as extreme as possible? You want to know what I did, what crime I committed? I would talk to my friends in a private DM that I didn't like how this artist would draw hands and certain features in their personal artwork. I want to make it clear that anytime that this was done on something that Mark was paying them for, I always chimed in and gave my notes, and in multiple occasions redrew the hands and poses myself, even publicly telling them that I would prefer their old designs over their new ones when they would ask for feedback. This isn't a case of me telling somebody that I love their art and the way that they draw hands, and then saying the opposite behind their back. Shit talking, yes. But how this turned into me hating them and asking them why, if I had grievances about their art, I wouldn't come to them personally with my critiques is such an exaggerated place to take this.
Pay attention to this clip because later on Daft will twist what she said.
You want to know what I did to Daft that made him hate me so much? I called him a cuck in private to friends back in 2020. Those who joked along and agreed. After having a falling out with one of them, they would decide to go to Daft themselves and tell him what I had said. To which he approached me about this. I never denied it and told him that the person that he got this from had joined in too. The worst I'd done to Daft since was send him this image. Really seemed to ruffle his feathers. What's the matter, Daft? Did you want to be Quagmire? Well, too bad. You'll always be Brian.
So according to Veronica, this is the reason as to why Daft did all of this, as well as also having a problem with Sunny for the mild things he did on top of that. But, of course, I don't want to be too quick to judge Daft just yet. We'll get to his defense soon enough, but for now, let's briefly go over Just Stop's video, Clearing the Air. So here's why Just Stop started working on the video in the first place.
This is because the video was, as an overarching theme, about their relationship and how I believed one of the people in that relationship was in an emotionally manipulative, compromising position. My belief that this may have been the case began on November 15th with a former friend of the person's partner making a tweet in which they discussed the partner's supposedly manipulative behavior whilst they knew each other, and this concerned me, so I looked further. There was no plan to make a video at all at this point. I just wanted to look into it by asking anyone that might have answers.
Thanks to the information in Veronica's video, we now know this tweet came from Smokey. And according to Just Stop, he had no plans to make a video when he saw that tweet. He just wanted to look into things even further. Which may or may not be true, but it does make sense. He wasn't really a drama channel anymore.
Since I had known this person for a couple years and we'd had on and off interactions over the course of them, I considered them a friend, and wanted to make sure if it was the case, as I didn't want them to be suffering, so I asked around. Some of those I asked choose to remain anonymous to this day, and I totally get why. But one of the more prominent people I asked about the situation was DaftPina, as he was closer friends with the person at one point, and I'd heard from another anonymous person that he had information.
And this was the moment when Just Stop knew. He fucked up. Now granted, DaftPina did know Ellis Mark for a very long time. They worked together on both the Quentin Reviews drama and the Otaku Studios drama. So I can understand why Just Stop went to DaftPina for help, but he saw the Rhythm Rev video. He even left a comment which he later deleted for some reason. And Just Stop later on confirms that he's seen at least some of my DaftPina videos, or at least parts of them. So he did have plenty of warning of what kind of guy DaftPina was even before he started working on this video.
But back to the retelling, first came the call, which should have been the end of it straight up, but the entire setup was a massive mistake. At first, I'd thought about going into it more naturally without Daft present, stating my concerns to them genuinely, and being straightforward about who I'd talked to and why. However, Daft wanted to use it as an opportunity to probe for information we hadn't had confirmed yet, and insisted on having the call recorded with pre-made questions to ask and a group of friends to join in. But he also wanted to be real sneaky and underhanded about saying it would be recorded, mixing the mention of it in offhandedly with a longer statement, so if the person didn't address the recorded bit, it would technically count as consent, as they live in a two-party consent state. However, I knew for a fact that wasn't how it was going to go, and mentioned as much to Daft, but he shrugged it off, and though I knew it wasn't the right thing to attempt, I tried going along with it thinking he knew best. It was noticed immediately, no doy.
Oh my god, it's so nice to finally hear some confirmation about this. Daft has interviewed a lot of people for his channel, but he normally interviews people like, you know, predators. No matter what he says or what he does, no one's gonna side with them because they're fucking predators. But then he started interviewing other people who weren't predators. Example, Antunes. And he still hasn't uploaded the full uncut interview to this day. And him trying to trick Ellis Mark into giving his consent or something should have been a pretty big red flag for Just Stop. Big enough, in fact, that he should have, I don't know, stopped working with the guy. This is why I'm not as soft on Just Stop as everybody else, because I know for a fact he had plenty of warning signs.
As was the whole already prepared list of questions bit, which never should have been a thing in the first place, but it was. And with that discovered, the rest of the call was really awkward because why wouldn't it be? Nothing about this was genuine, and bringing the person in under the guise of helping with a video didn't help either. Daft rationalized it to me with the idea that when people are in possessive relationships, the partner will often check messages, so it would be best not to leave any mention in text, but in retrospect, bringing someone in under false pretenses to talk about that kind of thing would only make them paranoid. Overall, it's clear to me now that Daft was more focused on getting the video created than actually talking with the person, so that's how the call came to be like it was. But but it did still happen and didn't lead to the expected result, so the video went forward, as I thought there was nothing else that could be done. There was though, in retrospect, obviously. I just didn't see it because Daft and others who helped with the script kept reiterating to me that there was no other way, so I kept going.
As I've mentioned before, while tricking someone to join a call by telling them that you're going to be working on a video together, only to be talking about serious topics, is cringe as fuck. I can understand Just Stop's perspective. When you have people like Daft and all his friends reiterating to you over and over again that this is the right thing to do, you can have a lapse in judgment. But at the same time, Just Stop had even more red flags waving in his face, all of which he ignored.
Daft and others would also add stories from people we talked to that couldn't be evaluated as anything more than hearsay, as they had no proof, and when I would try to say as much in the script, he'd stop me and go, "Don't say it like that. People will deconstruct and focus on it if you do." He wanted me to use sneaky language again, so in the end I cut them out entirely.
You also probably should have cut him out entirely. Yuck, this guy is trying to use sneaky language in my script, and I already have confirmation and a lot of evidence from several people that he's a sneaky, underhanded, untrustworthy individual. I guess I'll better keep working with him. Okay, so another red flag on top of everything else. You know he doesn't like Sunny. You know Sunny did a video on Daft. When you're working with someone who so obviously has ulterior motives, you should probably stop working with them.
And for bits that I didn't remove, I made sure to ask follow-up questions to get evidence of dates and such. Questions Daft never asked. He would just believe them wholeheartedly without proof and say we needed to add it to the script. And I didn't see how much of the script that was until I got to the editing phase and noticed all the bits I couldn't pull up screenshots or evidence for. I could also see that Daft wanted to make a large portion of the video about his personal grievances with another creator, Sunny TM, who was tangentially involved with the duo. You might know, if you saw the video, that the section on him doesn't really mention Daft at all, other than briefly at the very beginning. That's because I talked him out of including a 6-minute summary of their interactions together, as it was completely unnecessary and petty compared to what I had found in relation to Dubus Goobus. He just wouldn't let the Sunny section be, though. It always had to have an extra bit showing Sunny is underhanded, Sunny is a bitch, Sunny sucks dick for money, just on and on. Since Daft kept scrolling his social media looking for things to add, all of which I shot down. Well, other than one. At the very end of the Sunny section, I briefly mentioned that Discord moderators stated Sunny posted the nudes of a girl in the Oni Plays Discord server. However, there was no physical proof of this happening, so I wanted to exclude it entirely. But Daft was insistent that I keep it, so I did, with the prerequisite that it was unconfirmed but matched with Sunny's behaviors.
No, Just Stop. You owe Sunny an apology. He's a far smaller channel than yours, and you spread information about him that was unconfirmed. You only had an accusation to go off of, nothing more. According to Sunny, he only posted someone's OnlyFans, not their nudes. So Just Stop talks about why he deleted the video and how Daft and his friends kept on telling him to keep the video up. But eventually he gave in and finally deleted it. I'll certainly give him credit for one thing. He realized his mistake in less than a day. All it really took was him finally getting out of the echo chamber he put himself in and hearing opinions from people who weren't DaftPina or people who were on DaftPina's side.
And look, Sunny does suck. He emotionally manipulated a man in the midst of a mental breakdown to send money to a trans organization to make up for whatever unintentionally, allegedly transphobic remark he made. Then when the opportunity suited him, he said that the man was still transphobic and that the apology he suggested was corporate. Then, during a live stream when he had the chance to admit he was obviously just bullying and trolling this guy, he doubled down saying the guy was actually transphobic and that he did it for the good of trans people. Sunny is an asshole, a troll, a wannabe edgelord contrarian, creepy, unself-aware, and fake. But I shouldn't have mentioned anything relating to him that didn't have physical proof, even if I stated it was based on the testimony of others. That's why I couldn't come up with a justification for it when asked on livestream. That's why I couldn't come up with justifications for a lot of things on livestream. I was uncertain and didn't know it because I'd been hyped up that this was a good idea despite my reluctance, and eventually I thought I was confident in creating it, but I never was. And I only realized that when I was given negative feedback. Feedback I never received until it was already too late. This isn't to say I didn't try to get varied opinions. I showed the video and script to a couple good friends that didn't know anything about the situation who said it was solid. I showed it to the people I interviewed and they said it was solid. It made me think I was wrong to worry, that I was indeed doing the right thing. But as soon as I saw negative thoughts on the video being publicly released, I remember feeling a lump in my throat because I knew I didn't have a rebuttal. And when put to scrutiny, I couldn't defend the choice to make the relationship information public. And that's when I learned I'd messed up. It was never my place to publicize the info, and no matter the intention reaction, I was ignorant and stupid to think anything good would come from making it. Aside from other people that have been scorned by the friend group speaking up, though that's unrelated to the relationship. But I didn't quite see how I'd messed up yet, so I went to Daft and the others for advice, and they told me to keep the video up, giving all the explanations in the world for why. I was in a group call with around 7 people, and they all said the same thing, which just confused me even more about what to do. I was in panic mode. Then the person I'd made the video about messaged me saying they wanted to call, and Daft told me not to. So in a panic state, I just kept texting the person what Daft told me to say. But then a couple other friends pulled me into a separate call and knew what state I was in. I tried to dismiss what they said at first, claiming that this was the only way, repeating what Daft had told me, but they helped me to see how deep in the shit I was. How detached I was becoming from myself in a search for guidance on a matter that I had no right to trespass in. And so from there, I decided to do what I thought was best. I went back into the large group call and said I wanted to talk to the guy. They discouraged it, but I said I wanted to anyway, and I unlisted the video that night. At first, I was reluctant to delete it because, disregarding the relationship, it did help some people that were affected by the group to speak up, and I didn't want to make them feel like they couldn't or that they were invalid, but in the end, I saw that was tarnished by the relationship material, which was the main point addressed. So, I deleted it, knowing how big of a mistake I'd made to publicize it. I made a statement, then I just kinda buried myself in my work. I've got a big video coming soon for those that want to know when I'm going to get back to regular content, but I did keep my ear to the ground, and one person I never saw come to my defense in all of this was Daft. Privately, he said that he was proud of me for making my own decision, but he was completely silent on social media and didn't make any posts for a couple of weeks. I asked him about it, and he said he would make a statement in a month or two so people wouldn't believe he puppet mastered me into making the video, and to be honest, I don't think he did. I pushed back against a lot of his influence. I was the one that said it should be on my channel since I had the better reputation and thought no one would take it with the seriousness it deserved if Daft covered it, which probably should have been my cue to not have him involved at all, but he was always a good friend to me, so I trusted him. I was the one that brought him on in the first place. I decided to upload the video. It was my mistake ultimately. Daft made the situation far worse with his presence, but I'm not sure I'd call him a puppet master, more so an enabler. I can't pretend like it's all his fault. I genuinely thought it would help the situation with the person, as stupid as that sounds.
I am happy that Just Stop understands that the first rule of leadership is everything is your fault. He explains that Daft wasn't the puppet master, just an enabler, and that's something that was probably pretty hard for him to be honest about. It would be very easy for him to point to DaftPina and say, it was all of that guy's idea. And you know what? Most people would have believed him. You know what? Maybe I was a bit too harsh on Just Stop. I'm just so glad he's looking back on his relationship with DaftPina, and he's questioning the things he said to him.
Like he tried to do with me by including a massive section on Sunny. He wants to pretend he's better than all these people that talk about him, acting like he doesn't care, but he does. To be honest, I didn't take the criticisms of Daft too seriously for a while because people like Jar and Sunny would do it so poorly, just regurgitating what others had said or having completely stupid points.
Listen, I'm totally fine if Braxton has a few problems with my DaftPina videos. They're not perfect, I made a few mistakes in them. Granted, I kind of wish he would make an argument against them, and I really do not appreciate him putting me in the same boat as Sunny, but I've noticed a pattern with people who don't like my DaftPina videos. Let's go through the list. There's NekoKoda, That Creepy Reading, and Just Stop. That Creepy Reading and Braxton are friends with Daft, and NekoKoda was a member of Daft's Discord. NekoKoda explained why she didn't like my videos by debunking 2 of the sources I used, that being Sony and Advil. She did manage to point out a few minor mistakes I made that I admitted to and edited out of my video. But NekoKoda has a pretty long history of doing things that really piss people off. They're a bit of a debate me bro, and they like to blame a lot of the hate they get on them being trans. There was this big commentary community drama. Well, I shouldn't call it big, I should actually call it the opposite. Small. Because it just involved small commentary channels like Kumo, Carmen Ryder, NekoKoda, and Septipaws. It is way too complicated for me to get into fully. Now, I personally thought the drama should have stayed small, but almost all the people involved in it tried to get bigger commentators involved. The worst one by far being NekoKoda. Septipaws claimed that Carmen Ryder was pushing them into committing toaster in bath. NekoKoda made this overly edgy video where she demanded that people like me, Doodletones, and so many other YouTubers get involved and force Carmen Ryder to apologize. They tried to claim that they weren't serious, that this was all part of their plan to get more people involved. I think there was also a moment when Septi drew Carmen being Cosby'd by Prismate Luke and Kai Wise, or at the very least I think Septi hired someone to do it. Neko Koda tried to claim that she had no involvement in this and she told Septi not to draw it. Turns out she knew about the drawing and supported it. A few months later, she doxed the kid. She got his IP address and apparently she was going to get more. Then she sewer slide baited one of Leo Convoy's kids, a guy who was trying to help her out. Now I want to make this clear. I'm not saying, oh, Neko Koda did bad things, therefore Daft is also bad by proxy. I'm just talking about this now because, well, they're too small for me to directly make a video on, and I'm just going to take the opportunity when I can get it to talk about them. Yeah, one of the people who was on Daft's side was pretty mentally unstable. But if you're at all interested in the rabbit hole of Neko Koda, I would recommend checking out this video by Doodletones. It is almost 10 hours long, like, Jesus, Doodletones, I'm surprised your computer could handle that. That video has all the information that you could possibly want to know about Neko Koda. As for that creepy reading, we had 3 pretty awful debates. Basically 70% of the time it was him talking and 30% of the time it was me. Tried to accuse me of having a problem with Daft because he let a black person read a script out. Had to have my points explained to him 4 or 5 times until he finally got it, and was just so catty the whole time. Oh, you can't do that, makes you look really bad. Oh, I'm very disappointed in you for doing that. What you did was so gross and underhanded. And it's completely clear to me that a lot of the conclusions he came to about me was because of the influence of DaftPina. And then there's you, Braxton. DaftPina got you to make an awful point about Antunes involving color theory, saying he put Daft in an outfit he normally wears because the black jacket represents that you want to root against him, and the pink shirt is supposed to make him look more feminine. Daft got you to make multiple videos on Antunes, and he also got you to falsely flag down Antunes' video. This is why I'm not as soft on Just Stop as everyone else. It's because he had plenty of warning about Daft's character, and he has done a lot of horrible things on Daft's behalf already. Like, isn't falsely flagging down a video one of the cardinal sins in the commentary community? Why is it okay when Just Stop does it?
And yet your robot, leave Braxton alone, he's perfect. You may have been right about people like Prismate Luke, DaftPina, and Creepshow Art, but this time you're wrong. And you're also just buddy-buddy with Antunes. Is that the only reason why you're defending him?
The point I'm trying to make is, everyone who seems to have a problem with my Daft videos are close to Daft in some way.
But for the first one that really stuck with me, a video by this guy Rhythm Rev, I knew Daft had seen it. He even had a friend of mine continually reply to Rev on Twitter so Daft could act like he hadn't seen it.
What? He did that? Wow, what a weirdo.
He cares a lot about his public perception, and has a really black and white mentality about whether people are good or bad. That's why when I have brought up my own concerns to him, he's usually brushed them off, saying the shit he did was for the greater good. It was with that same mentality that, back during the Antunes drama of 2020, he convinced me to report the video for privacy and creating the weird spanking animation, both of which I regret doing as they came off hypocritical, though I don't know how many people even remember that fiasco.
I do, and you still haven't apologized to the guy. Okay, that's all of Braxton's video that I wanted to cover. But how truthful is he being? He doesn't really show any evidence on screen, and there's always 2 sides to every story. Well now, ladies and germs, remember when people used to say that? We are getting to the main event. Daft's video responding to everything. I'm going over this video because other than one small guy doing a live stream about it, no one has gone over Daft's video responding to everything, but it still got a lot of dislikes.
Now, I was a part of it, though my involvement in the situation was greatly exaggerated, and at times outright lied about. And I didn't want to rush this video as I learned my lesson from Tina Fey 1.
Alright Daft, I'll hear you out and see if you really were lied about. You better have some good proof. But I will give Daft a point for everything from Just Stop's video that he manages to debunk.
Taking your time is a better thing to do, and being too fast you can slip up, making it look like you lied to everyone, even if unintentionally.
No Daft, I saw your Tina video. Harley BT has already did a good breakdown of it, so go check that out. I think this video is already long enough as it is.
Now, I've had personal interactions with all of them, so I think it's best to talk about it. September 28, 2020, I DM'd Veronica because a mutual artist friend Beta's Inferno was speaking kindly about her works. Veronica used to work for Spindlehorse, and I was interested in her art. We talked for a short period of time, however I quickly realized this wasn't someone I wanted to be around. You see, Beta stopped being friends with Veronica, and she opened up about how she was shit-talking me to other people, calling me a cuck and racial slurs.
Whoa now, racial slurs? Bro, you're white, and she's white. This would be like a black guy calling out another black guy for calling him the N-word. Also, this is the first I'm hearing about this, and you also have no proof for your claim. If this is a lie to make her look bad, then it really sucks. Next, they're gonna start bitching about her putting her YouTube play button on the floor. Or not lying about a family member being dead. Both things you did in your Jaden video.
I got contact with her and deleted my messages, as she was also relaying and leaking them to other people. A year later, Veronica gets my attention on Twitter, so I DM her. I confronted her about shit-talking me. Instead of apologizing, she says other people did it too. But also, I make videos about people, so that's basically the same thing. After asking who else shit-talked me, she never responded. Another year later, she tried to contact me, and I leave her on red.
Oh boy, there's a lot to unpack here. Like I said in the Peaches/Creepshow art drama, someone talking shit behind your back happens all the time. 99% of people do it, and the other 1% are liars. I've had people show me Seth, Harley, Hopeless Peaches, and more saying not so nice things about me behind my back, but I have no plans to make a video about them. Hell, Cartoonchi said some stuff about me on Twitter, but we talked things out like adults. How much you guys want to bet that if she wasn't dating Ellis Mark, DaftPina wouldn't have helped just stop make that video? You haven't said sorry for reviewing fucking porn of my queen, Jaden Animations. By the way, Jaden, I'm still salty about you saying that you were asexual right after I asked you out on this. And you haven't said sorry to the tons of people you have publicly slandered. Your DMs do show her unfriending you on Discord because you deleted your messages, as you said. To be perfectly honest, I think I would block someone if they deleted all their messages on Discord, but maybe that's just me. But why don't you have a problem with the other people who are shit-talking you? Oh yes, now I remember. It's because she's married to Ellis Mark, a big YouTuber. She didn't deny anything to you. You guys had one convo and it was about politics. To be perfectly honest, I would make fun of you as well. If you have a problem with her not apologizing, then she also can have a problem with you not apologizing for what you did. Also, you skip over her saying you talked about politics. Sure, you do talk about her saying it, but you never try to debunk it or go into detail about what you said. And I think you also know that shit talking about people publicly is way worse than talking shit about them behind their backs. You slandered James, Jaden, and more people, most of which you have not apologized for. And to the ones you did, well, you took forever to do so. Also, one more thing, she wasn't trying to contact you, she was making fun of you. I don't think she really gives a shit if you responded or not.
Isn't to forget, that happened to the point when I unfriended her. Even with all the shit talking she was doing, she considered us pals? Does she do that with all of her friends? Shit talk?
Most likely. Wait, do you think this is a good point? Good one, bro. You leaked the DMs you had with James. So I take it that it's only a problem when it happens to you. Daft goes on to talk about Sunny TM. Let's hope he makes a few better arguments this time around.
Sunny TM is a former Oni Plays member. I met him December 2020 on Twitter, asking if he'd like to voice one of the main characters of an upcoming project, as well as edit a script. This was because he made a critique video about my previous cartoon. He saw things that I didn't, and for someone like me who reviews art and animation, it was good to have someone be that person to me. Though our business relationship wouldn't last long, as he claimed to be caught up with streaming.
Whoa, stop. Why are there so many blocked messages? This looks sus as fuck. And with the way you word things, it sounds like he couldn't work on the script because he was too caught up with streaming. But if you read the DMs, he said,
slowly chipping away at it between streams. I'm about halfway through at this point.
Then you tell him, good to hear. I'm DaftPina, I talk in a very slow way. My editors have their own lives as well. Also, you told him, good to hear. To him, that must have sounded like he was doing a good job. Daft, I've told you tons of times, read out your DMs, because I can tell that how you decide to word them, people will get the wrong idea. But you won't do that because you love twisting things.
I let him go, despite not finishing the work, and I paid an amount we mutually agreed on. He was then officially taken off the project, and his ideas weren't incorporated into the final one, as I went in a different direction.
Hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right. Why did you start blurring the DMs? Is it so less people would read them? Well, let's go through them. You tell him that you will soon start the animatic, and that you're dropping him. He then apologizes and seems very understanding. And according to him, you didn't pay him what you two agreed on. This is what Sunny had to say in his video that DaftPina didn't even try to debunk.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he got hired to work on an animation project. And he never did any work, told Daft that he was like focusing on streaming and that's why things weren't getting done, when in reality it was because he thought the script was so shit that he didn't want to work on it anymore. He then proceeded to leak a bunch of stuff and threaten Daft on Discord.
Oh, you're gonna try to use me being a writer on Arcade Plays as a basis for shitting on me? This guy even says I didn't do any work. A blatant lie, seeing as even Daft himself said my ideas will be incorporated in the final product. So how can this guy sit here and lie saying I did no work? I don't think people would just say this randomly though. That means Daft is telling people I did not work on Arcade Plays at all when it's simply not the case. And I have evidence to prove it. But why would Daft purposely lie to the people around him about my involvement in Arcade Plays? He isn't trying to discredit my contributions to his cartoon, is he? No, I mean he isn't crediting his workers. And we all know how much he hates people that don't credit workers. Let's go into detail about my involvement in writing on Arcade Plays. Daft came to me after appearing on Only Plays. Keep this in mind, it's really important for later. He asked me to voice a character on his new pilot he was working on. Unbeknownst to him, I was already working on the video sitting on Saturdays off, which had just come out a short week prior to him messaging me. When I released my video, he got me into a call with one of his cronies and my good friend, Ellis Mark, to talk about my video. Like how he probably did with all his other critics who later become his friends, such as Quinn Curio. He offered me a job working on the show as a script revisionist, which I accepted, under the impression it would be to rewrite lines of dialogue and make things funnier in general. As I've said before, I completely hated working on it and tried my best to salvage what I could to make it a better show by giving it notes and redoing it. While this was happening, I'm also trying to grow my newly found audience with streaming and, making a living to be able to sustain myself. In this debate, Creepy tries to make it out as if I was the reason things were happening and that I wasn't taking my job seriously. But just how much was Daft paying me for this project then? At the end of it all, I was paid a grand total of, hold your breath here, $45 for my contributions. $45.
Now, ultimately, Sunny didn't finish the work he was given. I don't believe that Daft should have to pay him the full amount. If Daft wanted it done sooner, he should have been way more clear about it. Now, maybe he was, but he doesn't show proof for it. This is probably what Sunny wanted to talk to him about. Daft should have accepted to have a VC, or at the very least not ghost the guy. And him, along with his group of grown-ass friends, shouldn't have tried to push Just Stop It to making a fucking video about a 10k sub YouTuber. Sunny probably shouldn't have made his video or trolled Daft along with his friends. At the end of the day, I just look at this and think to myself, this is just such childish and petty behavior.
Winter 2021, Sunny asked if we can call so he can ask some questions about something or whatever. I was busy, so I just asked him to type it out and I'll answer later. Rather than taking no for an answer, or just sending the questions in chat, he proceeds to keep trying to call me. As you see on screen right now, Sunny's last messages to me were cringe and try hard. Are you scared yet? I'm almost free. Run. Now, this was someone I believed I was on good terms with. It was shocking behavior from an adult I thought I could respect.
Okay, Daft, earlier in this video, you asked people to pause and read through the DMs you put up yourself. You do know that anyone who does that will think you look bad, right? You tell him that you are finishing up with the video, so you can't call right now, and you want him to type his questions out. He asked you how long that will take. You didn't get back to him. Later, he asked if you would be free in 2 days, and then again after your video came out. He keeps trying to talk to you, but you keep ghosting him. 22 days later, he gives you one more chance to talk. He starts doing some light trolling, and then he calls you out. So the way I see it, he came to the conclusion that you underpaid him. He more than likely tried to talk things out with you. You ignored him, so he called you out. So how does this make him look like the bad guy, and you look like the good guy exactly?
And as we'll soon learn later, I wouldn't be the only person he does this to. Christmas Day, Sunny releases a video about his short time knowing me. Within it, he leaks details about my upcoming pilot, showing the unfinished concept art and saying he hated working on my project.
We'll get to the stuff with TCR later on, but Sony blurred out your script in the video. Maybe he leaked it another place, but you don't show that. Also, once again, you leaked the DMs you had with James, so I don't care if he did leak the DMs or did not. As for the unfinished concept art, you have a small point there, so I'll give you half a point. But to me, this was more than likely just a mistake on his part. Okay, so I can't keep stopping the video every few seconds. I don't want to make another 2-hour-long video, so I'm just gonna skip ahead a little.
Ellis Mark is great friends with them, and none of this is new information to him. Mark was a close friend of mine that I've known for nearly half a decade, and we even got to hang out at VidCon 2019. So when Sunny released his video about me, my friend Croy and I called Mark, warning him about Veronica and Sunny, noting that they leak DMs, milk you for laughs or pretend to be your friend, and leak projects that they worked on. Despite the red flags and very clear concerns, Mark shrugged it off.
Funny that you're not showing any proof on screen.
Over the next year, 2022, Mark would slowly start promoting Sunny and Veronica more than ever on Twitter and his main channel. Over time, I would slowly stop talking to Mark, as if he was going to hang around these people, it wouldn't make sense for me to hang around him as much as we did before.
Oh no! This guy is friends with people I don't like. I need to move away from him because I don't have as much control as I used to.
Rexon wanted to bring this to light amongst other things he found, and I told him I would not make a video for one very good reason. A lot of people hate me.
Deservedly so, I might add. I'm going to be skipping a lot of Daft's video. All you need to know is Daft goes over how Just Stop and him worked together and planned out a call with Ellis Mark.
After the call we had with Mark, he uploads a video about South Park. There's a notable one as Mark was looking for YouTubers to voice over in it. Mark asked me to be in it, and I suggested if he needs additional people, Croey and that creepy reading would be fine. Mark would go with the latter, but TCR had a change of heart. You see on Twitter, Sunny DM'd TCR a shirtless picture of himself saying, "I'm coming for you." At the time, TCR did not know what Sunny looked like, just that I had bad experiences with him. So to him, a random shirtless dude trying to be threatening looks cringe, so he blocks him. Sunny would later make his third video about me, that for some reason also attacks people around me, including TCR. This is because he called him crazy in a debate. You know, looking at these messages that Sunny said to me, that's just an accurate term.
It's funny that you didn't go over why he called Sunny crazy. Well, let's play a clip from his own video that I once again will say you did see.
What exactly makes me crazy, Creepy? Let's listen more on what he has to say about me.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he got hired to work on a animation project, and he never did any work. Told Daft that he was like focusing on streaming, and that's why things weren't getting done, when in reality it was because he thought the script was so shit that he didn't want to work on it anymore. He then proceeded to leak a bunch of stuff and threaten Daft on Discord.
Oh, you're gonna try to use me being a writer on Arcade Place as a basis for shitting on me? This guy even says I didn't do any work. A blatant lie, seeing as even Daft himself said my ideas will be incorporated in the final product. So how can this guy sit here and lie saying I did no work? I don't think Creepy would just say this randomly though. That means Daft is telling people I did not work on Arcade Place at all when it's simply not the case, and I have evidence to prove it. But why would Daft purposely lie to the people around him about my involvement in Arcade Place? He isn't trying to discredit my contributions to his cartoon, is he? That would mean he isn't crediting his workers. And we all know how much he hates people that don't credit workers. Let's go into detail about my involvement in writing on Arcade Place. Daft came to me after appearing on Oni Plays. Keep this in mind, it's really important for later. He asked me to voice a character on his new pilot he was working on. Unbeknownst to him, I was already working on a video shitting on Saturdays Off, which had just come out a short week prior to him messaging me. When I released my video, he got me into a call with one of his cronies and my good friend Ellis Mark to talk about my video. Like how he probably did with all of his other critics who've later become his friends, such as Quincuria. He offered me a job working on his show as a script revisionist, which I accepted under the impression it would be to rewrite lines of dialogue and make things funnier in general. As I've said before, I completely hated working on it and tried my best to salvage what I could to make it a better show by giving it notes and redoing it. While this was happening, I'm also trying to grow my newly found audience with streaming and, you know, making a living to be able to sustain myself. In this debate, Creepy tries to make it out as if I was the reason things weren't happening and that I wasn't taking my job seriously. But just how much was Daft paying me for this project again? At the end of it all, I was paid a grand total of, hold your breath here, $45 for my contributions. $45.
So Creepy slandered the guy because of what you told him, even saying himself that he got things wrong. If I saw someone shit talk me in a video about me not working on something at all when I did, I would try fucking with them a little as well. Maybe not send them a shirtless photo of myself and saying I'm coming for you, but then again, who cares? It's light trolling at worst, and Creepy reading is a little bitch for letting this get to him.
So TCR DMs Mark saying he doesn't want to be in the South Park video, but can be one in the future. TCR even offered to find a replacement voice voice. Mark would shrug off any concerns about his friends by never responding TCR to this day. Sunny would again repeat this behavior on a new account, transitioning from day-to-day troll to stalking TCR.
Oh my god, that's hilarious! I mean, that's bad. Block evading one time is stalking. Okay, for real though, he block evaded one time. I wouldn't call this stalking. Sure, if someone did this to me, I would find it annoying. But when I think of e-stalking, I think of people trying to find my name and address, not block evading one time to send me a message. Also, Mark doesn't have to do something about his friend because he's not his dad. If you think Mark should do something about Sunny's behavior, then I could say the same thing about that creepy reading not doing anything about you. What did Sunny do? Block evaded and did a little trolling. And Daft has done enough for me to apparently make 3 long videos and now a 4th one.
January 22nd to 2023, Braxton uploads his video to YouTube unlisted, saying it's ready to watch. I tell him to take it down as it could leak and everyone needs to see it first.
Okay. I guess there's the possibility that could happen. Why is this a point in the video? Daft goes on to talk about a convo he had with Just Stop that he has no proof for, so I'm leaving it out of my video. What's funny is he talked about Sony not having proof of the transphobic thing Doobus Goobus said. I think the irony is lost on Daft.
This is all stemmed from me having a Doobus plush in the back of my side, by the way.
No, Daft, he didn't do all of that because you had a plushie of the guy in your background. He did all of that stuff to Goobus long before he even worked with you. He didn't just randomly do all of this because you had a plush of the guy. As for why he brought it up, well, here's what he had to say in his video.
Honestly, Daft has a real problem with hypocrisy, and it shows what people he chooses to associate with. People like Beta's Inferno, Doobus Goobus, Neko Coding, and even the people he clearly looks up to like Oni and the rest of the Oni Plays crew. Before I continue to this next section, I'd like to preface this by saying for the most part, I have no problem with those who choose to use slurs and non-PC language as long as it's with those who are okay with it. I would never condone using hate speech to make people feel bad about themselves or to attack someone for who they are. That being said, on the other side of the coin, if people choose to say slurs with company that doesn't find them offensive, I don't see why you should cancel them for just saying it. I stated this last year in regards to the Ethereum situation, and I still stand by this today. That being said, I will be using examples of people that Daft chooses to support that don't adhere to the same morals that he puts up in his videos.
His problem with you was your hypocrisy, not, OMG you guys, Daft supports a bigot! So as you can see, Sunny made up by your logic point against Daft. So Daft twisted it into, OMG, Daft supports transphobes, and then used Sunny's very own point against him. This is so snaky. It's something that even Turkey Tom fell for in his own video, and that creepy reading didn't correct him on it.
Noting the fact that Mark and Doobus are friendly on Twitter, so by Sunny's logic, does Mark support transphobic people?
Yes, and his problem was your hypocrisy. Not people who say bad words.
So I must mention that Sunny has sent many messages like this in an old server. Of course, I won't read these out, but I will keep them on the screen for you to see. Now, to be clear, these are old screenshots, but Sunny still holds Doobus to what he did 2 years ago as if it just happened yesterday. If he wants to hold people to this standard, then people will do it to him too.
You act like what he did to Goobus was because of you. And once more, he was saying that about you! If you call people out for what they did years ago, then people can do the same to you as well. That was his point. It's the same as mine and everyone else's. Oh god, will Daft bring up my past mistakes and say, well, John did it to me, so by his logic, which is also my logic, but I'm leaving that part out, I can do it to him too!
While there was positive feedback on YouTube, Twitter was a different story. They're reading some of the reactions, it doesn't seem as if people really watched the video before having a take. One of the smaller errors I never seen at the time was from drummer YouTuber Hopeless Peaches, who misremembered the age gap.
No. On YouTube there was a lot of backlash. Sure, people liked the video at first, but that's because they were fans of Just Stop. As for Hopeless Peaches, why is it that like every drama YouTube video I make, she somehow gets into it? She said she heard it was a 2-year age gap, but she more than likely mixed up the Ellis Mark drama with the Tina drama. I still don't know why you would put her in your video. Like, hasn't she been through enough already?
I learned my lesson from the Tina Fey situation, that taking time for responses is good, and that rushing to action is bad.
No, Daft. Your video on Tina, the one you took your time on, was also bad. The lesson you should learn is to not lie about people.
Number 3, this was after Braxton went on the live stream and made tweets discrediting himself for making the video. I don't know what tweet I would have made to defend him if he himself doesn't know what I should be defending.
That's a cop-out and you know it.
I told him if I were to respond, it would take time. 48 hours, a week, or maybe even a month. Every tweet and comment he makes pushes it back because I have to think of what to say.
How about, hey, we were worried about Ellis Mark, and it wasn't just Braxton. It was a lot of other people who were worried. If it wasn't Braxton, it would have been someone else. So please, don't pull out your pitchforks and put all the blame on him. But here's the big reason as to why I think this is a cop-out. This is what Daft does every time he is called out or there is drama around him. He didn't say anything about my videos, Rhythm Rev's video, or any of the other videos about him. So his excuse doesn't work because it's what he's always done. Sure, this may sound believable to someone who doesn't know Daft has done this every time there's drama around him, but that's why he lied. It's so people would believe him. That's kind of the point of lying.
The thing about the video is that it's centered around an apology, but the latter half is just about how terrible I am, no one likes me or respects me. I don't think that's an apology, I think that's just shifting blame. As mentioned before, this video has a lot of contradictions. Now this is either because Braxton's an unreliable narrator, or is just a malicious liar. Braxton for some reason claims in the live stream that Sunny's done a lot of terrible things and it matters to talk about, yet in the Clearing the Air video, he says only Sunny was tangentially involved.
I could also see that Daft wanted to make a large portion of the video about his personal grievances with another creator, Sunny TM, who was tangentially involved with the duo.
How many people had been affected, especially by Sunny, and more so Sunny than Veronica. Sunny done a lot of horrendous shit to a lot of people. Veronica has also done bad to other people, but not to quite the same extent, other than with Mark himself.
Okay, let's unpack this. So Just Stop did apologize and never shifted all the blame onto you. All he said was that you enabled him and how you did it. And that's it. Sure, Just Stop has done some pretty stupid things, but most of them were because of you, such as flagging down one of Antoon's videos. He's still at fault, but he was smart to cut ties with you. I just wish he did it sooner, and I'm sure he thinks the same way. At the end of the day, he still took most of the blame. He didn't just shift it all onto you. As for the 2 clips you played from the live stream and Braxton's video, they do not contradict one another, like, at all. Just another lie that Daft is using by taking things out of context. In the video, Braxton says that Sunny was transgentially involved with Ellis Mark and his wife. I probably said transgentally right. Let's not roast me for it in the comments, please. In the clip from the live stream, he says that Sunny did a lot of horrendous shit. So where's the contradiction?
Or how he even claimed that the video didn't materialize until January.
So I'd say I worked on it starting around early December.
Okay, early December, so.
Yeah. It didn't really materialize, and besides script, it didn't really start materializing into anything until early January.
When back in December, he's already recording and editing it by himself.
Wait, are you for real, Daft? This is such a nitpick. He said he started it in December, but then he says it didn't start materializing until January, besides scripting. Then you show DMs from him saying that he started recording the first third in December. Wow, Daft, you really got him. This proves somehow that Just Stop lied about the date it was made, and this somehow makes himself look better in some way, I guess? Or maybe he was just on a live stream and he was going off of things from the top of his head. This is a nitpick at best and a stretch to make a point at worst.
The biggest issue was my involvement, as Braxton first claimed I was barely involved, and in this video says I was the main driving force?
So they helped with creating the questions,
and in the call, and that was mostly their involvement. When I would try to say as much in the script, he'd stop me and go, "Don't say it like that. People will deconstruct and focus on it if you do." He wanted me to use sneaky language again, so in the end I cut them out entirely.
Daft, where did he say in that clip that you were the main driving force? Because I heard him say you wanted to add sneaky language, which I have proven you've done lots of times. As for him saying that you weren't really that involved, well, that is a lie. A lie he made to protect you, but everyone saw through it and called him out on his bullshit.
Braxton would also claim that I forced him to put things in the video, but later in the video said he cut out the stuff I wanted in?
You might know, if you saw the video, that the section on him doesn't really mention Daft at all, other than briefly at the very beginning. That's because I talked him out of including a 6-minute summary of their interactions together, as it was completely unnecessary and petty compared to what I had found in relation to Dubus Goobus.
So which is it, Braxton? Do you have control? Do you not have control?
Daft, for real? What's the point you were trying to make by showing that clip? He never said you forced him to add anything in the clip you showed. He said you wanted a full 6-minute summary about your interactions with Sunny. Then he said no. What's the point? Yes, he has control and he never said he didn't.
Because even in text I suggested adding stuff and he said no. It's a bit confusing, you know? I'm glad to have showed the evidence before, because like, Braxton didn't.
Your proof proves his point, because they are the same point. You know that, right?
There was this weird infantilization of Braxton that he's too much of a jellyfish who couldn't have possibly made the video. It surely was someone else pulling the strings. And if you watch the follow-up video, I can see how you got to that conclusion.
It's almost like it's the correct conclusion or something.
Further going to contradictions, he mentions adding stuff about Sunny leaking nudes in the server, to which he said there wasn't substantial evidence. Besides the fact that there is, this whole video has no substantial evidence. It's just a singular JPEG.
The only evidence is someone saying he did it, and that's it. Also, you shouldn't talk about substantial evidence when you don't know what that is. So Daft goes on to talk about a comment from Hopeless Peaches for some reason. Says Braxton claimed he never manipulated him, but also was trying to push all the blame onto him somehow. Then Daft's biggest offender, that creepy reading, comes on to the video.
To start, while I believe some sneaky behavior went on behind the scenes and that the situation was horribly mismanaged and lacked any and all self-awareness, I cannot place all the blame on Daft, which is what people have been doing for a while.
Sure, some are putting all the blame onto Daft, but for most, this is the last straw. People are just sick of his manipulation. A lot of people felt like Just Stop's video was more like a Daft video as soon as it came out. Yes, Braxton started on the video and uploaded it, but Daft enabled him, and that's a problem.
If I had been shown this video, I would not have given permission to use my story. With the way Braxton presented me, it seemed like I cut off Mark because his friend sent me a message that could be taken as a joke on Twitter. At that point in time, I actually didn't cut off Mark. The only thing I said I won't do is be in a video with him, while at the same time his pal Sunny is turning me into content. I honestly did not blame Mark, but I would make the criticism that as a influencer, hanging out with someone like Sunny is a liability at best.
I could say the same thing about you and Daft. What has Sunny done? Trolled you on Twitter and did something pretty shitty to Dubus Goobus. Wow. Daft, on the other hand, has slandered tons of people. It's not even close, and he only talked about you after you talked about him first, so you were free game in my book.
Especially since its strange, shitty behavior has been pointed out to Mark by this point several times.
And Daft's shitty behavior has been pointed out to you even more times. I'm just saying, Creepy, the way you see Ellis Mark is how a lot of people see you.
No, I did not cut Mark off until Sunny made a second Twitter account, the third one I've seen in total, so he could send me another message with the intention of making me feel unsafe.
Oh my god. Okay, first of all, if I said something like this, Creepy would 100% say in his catty voice, Jar, you shouldn't say messages from black people make you feel unsafe. It makes you look really bad. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who said when I pointed out that Daft got a black person to read out DMs to get around a racist black girl telling him that she didn't want white men using her story. He said I looked bad for pointing out the race of said person, even though it was relevant to my point. Also, how do you know his intentions were to make you feel unsafe? He didn't think you were that much of a pussy. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too mean to Creepy. I mean, it's not like he said a message like this gave him a panic attack or anything.
On the exact same day, I talked about this fear and anxiety in a video. Is it a possible coincidence? Yeah, definitely. But it proves the point that Sunny doesn't care who he sends messages like this to, as it did cause a serious panic attack that time.
Okay, originally I did laugh pretty hard at this, but Creepy was dealing with a lot of stuff involving Plague Moth around that time, so he could have taken it as a legitimate threat. Panic attacks are not something you can really control, and at the end of the day, it is also possible that he's making all of this up. Now this whole, he did it on the same day I uploaded this one video where I talked about my anxiety. Bro, that's a 40-minute long video, and he wouldn't have gotten that from your title. He more than likely hasn't seen it. You are really paranoid, you know that? One last thing, you say Sunny doesn't care about the people he sends messages like this to? I think he does because you slandered him publicly. The only other person we know that he's done this to is Daft. Sorry, but if you talk shit, you get hit. I really don't care if I uploaded this video when you were having a bad day. I ain't reaching out to make sure that you are in a good mental state when you yourself do not do the same for others.
Like, if you want to call me a loser or whatever...
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself?
Fine, but these kinds of messages are just not okay in any circumstances, especially when you're ban evading to send them. I had to deal with low-tier God going through my Facebook to find my address and roast material in a live stream with over 1,000 followers.
Whoa now, that sounds 10 times worse than someone just sending you one message. Do you just not know what a panic attack is? Also, I love how catty he sounds when he says, messages like this ain't okay to send under any circumstances.
So, to my surprise, despite Sunny being banned on Twitter a minimum of 3 times, Mark still takes the time to follow each and every one of these accounts. I'm getting messages like this and seeing Mark right there, supporting, promoting, and generally silently condoning his action.
Bro, you are such a little bitch! You are not working with someone because they are friends with a guy who sent you one message and talked about you in a video after you slandered him. Fuck you! Get over yourself and stop being such a baby! You are a grown man acting like this. Even if I didn't have my debates with you, I would still be saying this. And the worst part is, this isn't even the worst part of what you say in this video.
I then saw some screenshots that shows Mark is willing to leak DMs to Sunny and his partner for the express purposes of like making fun of and shitting on people that at the time he called his friends. If Mark really just hates me or Daft or whoever, I would rather like just know instead of like wasting my time with this high school drama. Like, man, just point and laugh from a distance and stop trying to get involved with the personal lives of people that you genuinely don't care about.
Bro, you can't be this stupid. He is pointing and laughing at you from a distance. He is not trying to get involved with the personal lives of people he doesn't like. But do you know who is doing that? Daft! Holy fuck! How has no one gone over this video yet? Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, this has to be the worst thing Creepy said in this video. Nope, this is.
Mark has been warned. I gave him a chance to do the right thing after the first time that this happened, and then the second time, I heard a response for why he ignored me, but I'm just gonna tell this to Mark in case he's watching this. If that really is your excuse, I have no business going anywhere near your toxic group of friends, and I don't want you in my life at all.
I do not have words to describe just how scummy this is, but I'm going to try my best. I do not know what you meant by warning Mark, but it sounds fishy as fuck.
I cannot imagine threatening someone over one of their friends doing some trolling. Mark is the victim in all of this. Even Just Stop said as much in his video. But you don't want him in your life at all, just because his friend trolled you and talked about you in a video after you slandered him. I know I keep saying that over and over, but I have to because Creepy and Daft leave it out. Okay, so I did chat with a few people and I realized I was being a little bit too harsh to Creepy and Daft and not harsh enough to Ellis Mark. But not by much. So Ellis Mark is doing more than just talking shit behind the back of Daft. He's also leaking his private project, which granted I wouldn't go as far as to say he's getting involved with his personal life. While I do think Daft's project is laughable and is not going to go anywhere, at the end of the day it's important to Daft, and what Ellis Mark did was a breach of his trust. And Daft did warn Ellis Mark that someone was leaking his project prior, so Ellis Mark should have known that this was not an okay thing to do to Daft. While I do think Daft is entitled to feel backstabbed, he's still done so much worse to at least a half a dozen people. But that does not make what Ellis Mark did any less shitty.
At the same time, the idea that Daft rushed a video, manipulated Braxton into making it as bad as it is, and that if Braxton never talked to Daft, this never would have happened, is also simply insane to me.
That's because you're stupid and you believe whatever Daft tells you. The fact is, as far as I'm aware, Just Stop has never done anything like this on his channel before. The closest examples I can think of is what he did to PK Wrestle and what he did to Antunes. And I believe both of them had heavy involvement from Daft. At the very least, the Antunes one did, but when it comes to Daft, in his Young Dawn video, he went into detail about the guy's family and even used them against him. In his video on Our Theory on Art, he contacted one of the guys he follows on Twitter so he could show him a rough draft of his video and record the guy saying that what he saw made him very disappointed. And then we have Dangle and James, two ex-friends. Daft did whatever he could to make James seem like the most racist guy he possibly could. And then he used Dangle's post against her wishes as well against the Odd Ones Out. Now this was public information. Daft does have the right to talk about it. Now I do agree that Dangle's post was public, so Daft did have the right to use it, but it's clear to everyone why James didn't want to address this. He has a massive audience. She would be dogpiled. What Dangle did was stupid by making this public, but Daft only wanted to use it to make the Odd Ones Out look bad. There is no need for him to get involved with a former relationship of two friends. If this only happened once, that would be one thing, but this is a common pattern of behavior with Daft and not with Braxton. The fact that you can't see this when basically everybody else can is just insane to me.
That said, I did talk to Braxton, and while I do have reservations, and I'm still kind of mad that he didn't take accountability for the wrongs he personally did to me.
Wait, what wrongs did he do to you? Knowing you, he probably did some super light trolling. Now let's get to the second worst thing Creepy said in this video.
That said, I actually do blame one person. If Mark did not engage in this shit-talking high school behavior while hiding where he stands with people who genuinely thought that they were his close friends, Mark's marriage would not have been exposed like this.
So because he talked shit behind a friend's back like everyone in the world does, he deserves his private life to be put into the public. Dude, you and your friends are evil. The fact that you think this is okay is just shocking to me. I'm done with Creepy now. Anyways, let's get back to Daft.
However, I can't stress this enough. Veronica would have been better off never releasing a video, with nearly all the comments on Veronica's video just being about how awful she is and why she's really telling us these things. Mark would be showing support of her for the video by retweeting it, but judging by the like to dislike ratio, this is a really negatively disliked video.
Hello, what? My name is Kettle. Have we met? Wait, didn't I make that joke in a previous video? You would have been better off not uploading this video. And you have much, much more dislikes. Until recently, Veronica's videos dislikes have caught up to yours. We all know a lot of those dislikes came from Just Stop's fans who stupidly believed his video on her. Also, her video has more than twice the likes of yours.
An interesting detail about the video is that it's probably been in the works for quite a while. Looking to Veronica's Patreon, a sketch of the thumbnail was dated back in January 9th. So if she had been working on this for quite a while, it seems that she always wanted to talk about this sort of stuff.
Bro! That's just stupid. It's clear to most people that she just started on the art a long time ago and just used it for this video. I wish I didn't use up all my jokes about superheroes with stretchy powers in my video on Seth, because you really stretched to make that point. Oh, I got an original one. What, are you married to Mr. Incredible or something?
It was noted by her Twitch she has no issue wearing people's dirty laundry before then, often seen shit-talking exes that many would assume to be Chris.
So we go outside, and he's like, I love you so much. I made a huge mistake. I'm gonna cut her off. And I'm just sitting there like with my cigarette, because he hated that I smoked. So I just made sure anytime, I just always had my cigarette out, just looking at him. And he fucking cried like a bitch.
So Sunny messaging someone a picture of his face and block evading one time is e-stalking, but looking through tons of Veronica's internet activity is a-okay. We live in a society, don't we?
In fact, she would do this to his animators as well. Rebecca, an animator on Mark's pilot, is being shit on by Veronica. Within the video, she said she did fix stuff she made, but also says, yeah, she did shit talk.
You want to know what I did? What crime I committed? I would talk to my friends in a private DM that I didn't like how this artist would draw hands and certain features in their personal artwork. I want to make it clear that anytime that this was done on something that Mark was paying them for, I always chimed in and gave my notes, and in multiple occasions redrew the hands and poses myself. Even publicly telling them that I would prefer their old designs over their new ones when they would ask for feedback. This isn't a case of me telling somebody that I love their art and the way that they draw hands, and then saying the opposite behind their back. Shit talking, yes.
So she confirmed she was talking behind the animator's back to multiple people about how bad their art was, further confirming it was shit talking, but hold on. Only on paid work she'd tell them what to correct. I'm glad whenever she asked for critiques publicly, you were there to help, but you just mentioned moments before about how you're discussing how bad her personal art is to multiple people. That's shit talking.
Hang on, let's play a little bit more of that clip for the full context. Also, fuck you, Daft, for making me watch her video over again to find this clip.
See, you love handling things and framing them as worse as possible to fit this narrative you want to try and spin. I found out that Daft was going to an artist who Mark is paying to work on his pilot, telling them that I was mocking them and their art. This would be corroborated by Strawberry Mage. I know it was you. Daft first talks to them about me mocking their art. The next question going into, why do you think Veronica hates them? You see how things are made as extreme as possible? You want to know what I did? What crime I committed? I would talk to my friends in a private DM that I didn't like how this artist would draw hands and certain features in their personal artwork. I want to make it clear that anytime that this was done on something that Mark was paying them for, I always chimed in and gave my notes, and in multiple occasions redrew the hands and poses myself. Even publicly telling them that I would prefer their old designs over their new ones when they would ask for feedback. This isn't a case of me telling somebody that I love their art and the way that they draw hands, and then saying the opposite behind their back. Shit talking, yes. But how this turned into me hating them and asking them why, if I had grievances about their art, I wouldn't come to them personally with my critiques is such an exaggerated place to take this. Clearly done by Daft to make minor events seem as massive as possible.
So as we can see from the full context that Daft left out, she's not saying she didn't shit-talk the person, but oh no, she said she didn't like how the artist drew hands and told them to their face, but this is somehow going behind their back. I love how you say she confirmed she was talking behind their back when the clip shows the opposite.
This is why I was comparing Daft to Creepshow Art and Prismate Luke. Two people who are even worse than Daft that I have playlists for if you want more info. Also, please don't act like you give a shit about Mark's artist when you're shit talking his wife. Now, I did just skip 5 minutes of Daft's video, and I will be skipping a lot more, because it's just a lot of he said, she said. I do have a few problems with things Daft said, but this video is already long enough. Croey comes on, but he has no proof, so I'm gonna take his word on, well, absolutely nothing. He's been in Daft's pocket for a very long time. I don't know how anyone could be friends with Daft for this long, given everything he has done.
Now, I do know that Braxton mentioned a lot of times in this video that Daft wasn't a mastermind or a puppet master, and that he wasn't pulling the strings, and he really was. At least he wasn't in the interactions that I had with both of them. But it seems like it kind of defeats the purpose of stating he's not the mastermind when the rest of the video emphasizes that he's an enabler, or that he enabled him, or that he was really pushing to put these things in the video. It just seems kind of like a contradiction.
Well, it's not. He said Daft wasn't puppeting him, but he did push for things to be in the video. That he said no to. Daft didn't like Veronica or Sunny, so he wanted to push for things that made them look even worse than they really are. But Just Stop still said no to a lot of what Daft wanted. To me, it looks like Daft wasn't the mastermind puppet manipulator, but he still enabled him.
I also want to say that if you're friends with Daft, you're aware that people don't like or trust him over the mistakes he's made in the past. You can do a single Google search for his username and see that he's never gotten away with any of the mistakes he's made, even ones he made when he was 16.
I somewhat agree with you. Just Stop had more than enough warning. But Daft did get away with most of the things he has done, with only a few small channels calling him out, until I came along. I don't know why he left up that awful Odd Ones Out video for so long, which by the way, he still to this day hasn't apologized for. But he has at long last taken it down, along with a lot of other videos. And according to Daft, that implies almost everything in them are wrong. Whew, okay, that's all of Daft's video that I'm willing to go over. He proved, well, nothing. Nothing at all. I guess it's now time for me to move on to my ending thoughts. Wow, what an unnecessary dumpster fire. A bunch of petty high school drama that none of us needed to know about, with Ellis Mark's privacy being violated. Just Stop's nearly spotless reputation being tarnished. Bro, you should have stayed away from drama when you had the chance. Doobus showing up for some reason, and DaftPina along with his friends. Just wow. Doobus, I don't know how transphobic the thing you said was, but you apologized, and out of everyone, you seem like the least bad. You were dragged into this unnecessarily, and you're definitely one of the victims from all of this. Ellis Mark, it wasn't cool of you to leak your friend's private project. I may be Daft's biggest hater, but he still saw you as a friend, and what you did really made him feel betrayed. But what happened to you was a much greater betrayal. You absolutely did not deserve what happened to you. Out of all of the YouTubers I have interacted with, I see you as the one with the most pure heart. You don't have control over those around you, but I do think you should have a word with Sunny. Speaking of Sunny, you want to make YouTube into a career, then you better start being more professional. You're closely tied to Ellis Mark, especially now, so what you do can reflect onto him. The Doobus thing was not a smart idea. Try thinking before you act, or maybe stay away from making drama content. I don't think you're cut out for it. Veronica, many of your actions, especially towards Mark, were definitely not okay. That being said, no one's perfect, and I am happy that you took a lot of accountability for your actions. Just Stop, I'm also happy you took accountability, but you're no longer a boy, you're a man, and men make their own decisions. Don't let people like DaftPina take you down the wrong path. You had more than enough warning, and plenty of evidence that he had ulterior motives. You may have taken accountability for that Ellis Mark video, but you still need to take accountability for what you did to Antunes. Flagging down a video is inexcusable for anyone in the commentary community or any content creator in general. The fact that I'm one of the very few people to call this out disgusts me. Next time you slip up, Just Stop. It ain't gonna be easy as this time, because people will start seeing a pattern of behavior. And as for you, DaftPina, holy shit, where to start? Super early on, people gave you a free pass on your Jaden video. Sure, a few people hated you for it, but most ignored it. You were doing great for a while. People absolutely loved you. You were not just someone who hopped on drama trends. You were a trend setter. You have done a lot of good. You exposed people like Cosmodor, Otaco Studios. You've helped people behind the scenes, and man, you are really good at making connections. But the way you handled the Antunes drama was just not okay. But you were allowed to get away with it because, well, it was the dark age of the commentary community, with people like Creepshow Art, Prismate Luke, Kai and Omnia rising to power, and just a whole bunch of other terrible people. Then you made your video on the Odd Ones Out, which was almost as bad as your Jaden video, and that's when people started bringing that one up again. While our theory on art has said some not okay things about trans people, along with Tina Fey catfishing a minor 2 years
years younger than themselves, and young Dawn saying homophobic shit, along with other unhinged things. You did not handle these 3 situations well at all. You have this habit of not taking accountability for your actions. I've made my own fair share of mistakes. Hell, I've gotten things wrong about you, but I don't just ignore it and hope it goes away. You hold people up to this impossible standard, but once you've finally done something that crossed the line so much that a large enough amount of people finally called you out so much that you could not ignore it, you just did what you could to manipulate your way out of the situation, but it didn't work because most people don't trust you anymore. You've slandered people, maybe unintentionally, but once it was pointed out to you, you just ignored your mistakes, and you did so again and again and again. All of your videos that I have covered have been taken down, except for your Young Dawn one, but at least you changed the title. I mean, you can't really call him Harry Pan a fucking incel. And obviously, you've taken this video down before, well, my video came out. But one question I just can't seem to answer is, why? Sure, Jaden's a big YouTuber. You were just starting out. If you got a bandwagon started on someone like her, you would have shot to the top. While I don't agree with the actions that Spetchy and Fox Goodman have done, the bandwagons you started on them was way bigger than they deserved. You do have a talent for making someone look like an absolute scumbag. Your reputation was better, so you tried your luck a second time with James, in the same way you did with Jaden. It worked a little bit better this time, but still, you took a hit to your reputation, and you just kept on trying and trying and trying. As much as you try to hide it, what people say about you does get to you. You probably wanted to get back at Sunny and Veronica, and since Just Stop was making the video, and his reputation was much better than yours, there was a pretty good chance you could get away with it. Honestly, if it wasn't for everything else you did up to this point, I think most people wouldn't have given a shit. 90% of the blame would have been put on Just Stop, with you receiving very little of it. And look at where you are now. When you first started, you were making cartoon reviews that barely got any views, and now you're back to square one. I guess you're getting more views than you used to get, but your reputation is absolutely in the dirt. It's gonna take you years to be relevant and trusted again. So I just gotta ask, was it all worth it? Why only expose artists and animators? Why just act like everything was okay until it went away? It's because it worked with the Jaden video? I used to be a huge fan of Daft's. I would watch every single video of his. But for the life of me, I don't know why. I guess it was because it was unique from what everybody else was doing. Daft, even to this day, is still losing subs. People are still making videos on him, and from what I've heard, even more are coming out. A guy who used to easily get hundreds of thousands of views on his videos is now struggling to break 10K. None of us are Daft, so we'll never fully know why he did any of this, or why he's still going, just hoping that things get better for him. As someone who has spoken to him a few times, I will say he has what I like to call big Griffith energy. He just has something unexplainable about himself that makes people want to follow him. I guess he just took it for granted. If there's one thing I would like you to take away from this video, is that this is a cautionary tale about what not to do on the internet.